Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
The #1 selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, onabotulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
5 immersive worlds, 1 amazing theme park. Get ready to explore the all-new Universal Epic Universe, featuring the wizarding world of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, Super Nintendo World, How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, and Dark Universe. Epic Universe opens May 22nd at Universal Orlando Resort. Our universe will never be the same. Tickets and packages on sale now at universalorlando.com.
From the Fifth Quarter Studio in Madison, Wisconsin, you're listening to the Coaching Youth Hoops Podcast.
They're playing basketball. Basketball.
Here's our hosts, Steve Collins. And Bill Flitter.
All right, welcome, coaches. Sorry to interrupt. Coach and I don't like doing this, but we think what we're doing is super important. Couple things. For mine is that the price of Coaching Youth Hoops is going up. I've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks, but I'm going to tell you it's going up next week. September 5th, it's going from $59 to $99. So that's a substantial increase. I understand that. That's why we wanted to make sure we let all of you know that if you're thinking about joining, thinking about coming over, we spent the entire summer basically getting all of this ready. So come on and join right now. And then, Coach, what's the other thing?
On September 13th, I'm pretty excited. We are launching the Coaching Youth Hoops Masterclass. This is a step-by-step process that you can follow to get your season all planned out. We're gonna teach you. Coach and I are gonna teach you some winning strategies. You're gonna design killer practices, basically giving you more confidence going into the season. Parents are gonna love you for your newfound organization skills, and what I'm really excited about is we're gonna be sharing some ways to sneak out a few more wins. Right. So again, these are step-by-step videos. You'll get one a day. You'll be done in 30 minutes per day, approximately. You'll have all the insider tips that Steve and I have learned over
multiple years. Too many years. I
See
know.
This gray hair? Yeah.
And no hair.
So you'll have everything. You'll learn from all of our mistakes. You won't even have to worry about those. We're going to give you everything that we've learned to have a successful youth basketball season.
And give that URL one more time, Coach.
Yeah, one more time. Here it goes. Write it down. Coaching Youth Hoops Masterclass.com. The class starts September 13th. So you got to sign up in order to get all of the material.
Yeah, do that right now. And I'll put it down in the show notes too for those of you who are listening, driving the car, jogging, walking the dogs, whatever you're doing. So, all right. Hey, Coach, welcome to Coaching Youth Hoops. I've kind of hijacked it this week. Coach Gruber, I just thought kind of a perspective of Coaching Youth Hoops. and coaching it in Canada, and some of those things would be of interest to all of you over at Coaching Youth Hoops. So that's why I'm putting it in here. Couple things. Make sure, first of all, you go over and check out coachingyouthhoops.com. It is the one-stop shop for everything that you need to become a better basketball coach. I'm just telling you right now, it's practice plans, it's handouts, it's workout, it's everything that you could possibly need in one spot. So go over and check out coachingyouthhoops.com. And then also a couple things. First of all, go over and look out basketballplaycreators.com, basketballplaycreator.com. Basketballcreator.com. I'll put the link down below. If you're looking to draw plays, do anything like that, that is the one place that you're going to want to go to make sure that you can find everything. And then the last thing is Basketball Coaches Clinics, basketballcoachesclinics.com, basketballcoachesclinics.com. We're going to be putting some youth basketball clinics over there, some live teaching things. If you're interested, basketballcoachesclinic.com. And again, I'll put the link down below in the show notes. But let's head off to the podcast. So Coach Gruber, I'm going to have you kind of explain your basketball journey, just because I find it easier for people to kind of, where did you start? How did you start? And then kind of introduce yourself, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, I started kind of like everybody else. I played when I was younger. I loved it. Played a little older when I was, kind of beer league type of thing. But never coached. Had a couple kids, and on the wife's side of the family, they're very much into Ukrainian dancing, so I volunteered there. Then my son just
how was that? So explain what that is.
Well, Ukrainian dancing.
Yeah.
Well, it's there's a whole dance culture. If you've ever sort of people think of river dance with Irish culture, there's a Ukrainian culture. There's a quite a large dance cultural group.
Okay.
And
it's a group thing. It's a group thing.
It's a group thing, and it's you'll have a group in almost every city, particularly the cities that are larger Ukrainian immigrant populations from many years ago. On my wife's side of the family, her parents immigrated from her grandparents, immigrated from Ukraine a long time ago, became farmers, and then the other dozens and dozens of families that came from that part of the world. They decided to create a little Ukrainian dance group. It's called Zirka here, where I'm based. Okay. And they would hire instructors, very similar to basketball. They hire instructor would come out once a week. They teach them one or two or three dances, and then they would go to competitions where there'd be a judge, and they would rank them from silver, gold, that kind of thing. And you would costumes, the whole 9 yards. So it was basically a choreographed show. And then at the end of the year, you'd have usually have a mid-season show, and then an end of the year show, concert, and it'd be a whole event. So my daughter was 4 years old when we started, because she's her mother danced, her aunt danced, her uncle danced. They were it was kind of expected to be in there, and they started as young as 4, and they usually go till my daughter's actually still dancing. She's 23 now. She still dances with the group.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. Well, it's a great exercise, great coordination. My son did it for quite a few years, and then he decided he wanted to do sports. Right. That happens a lot with boys.
But I'm getting, I say everyone should. I bet it helped his footwork. I bet it helped his, all that rhythm stuff at the young ages.
Well, and the partner work. Like, if you think about it, you're the boys in the Ukrainian dance are usually the ones doing the lifting. Even the young guys are lifting the girls and moving and placing them. And so they're doing that, and the stunts, jumps, the doing your feet, and like getting down, doing your kicks. You definitely get in shape if you stick it out, and you certainly learn with working with other people, position, spacing, timing. So yes, I've actually had a few girls that I know were Ukrainian dancers that are turned into basketball players that I coached.
I bet that.
And they're really good.
So I bet they're very good. I bet they're very good. So we'll come back to your journey in a second, but I'm going to go off a little bit on a side road for a second. I think no matter, and people always ask me this question, is kids at that age from 4 to 11 should be doing multiple things. They should be playing multiple sports. They should be experimenting with multiple movements. They should be doing different. so this is a parenting thing, but it's true. Like, you're trying to develop both physical and mental different things, put them in the arts, put them in the reading, all that stuff. First of all, if you're only thinking about athletics, it definitely makes them a better athlete. They're less likely to get injured. They're using more movements. It's the kids that only play basketball in third grade. That's a problem. It's you got to do more and more things, because it's just
different muscle groups. Like the girl I was describing earlier, Hannah. She never played on a team before. I was coaching her first time on a team, and the first time she touched the ball and she went for a layup, she was like born to do it. Like, it was one of those things where she just it wasn't. I don't know if it had anything to do with her dance, but it certainly her timing was completely different compared to other first year players who never touched the ball. And had nothing. And she never, she probably played around with her brother a little bit, maybe a little bit at the gym, but she never played on a team. And it's instantly useful, and in terms of like helpful to the team and helpful to everybody else. It had nothing to do with my coaching. It had to do with what she did before.
Right.
So I think the skills are transferable, a lot more transferable, from some physical activities to others, like soccer players, football players. Some of my best basketball players were guys who played football.
Right.
Like, just remarkable.
Yeah.
And their mindset of being coached. So in Ukrainian dance, for example, you have to listen to your instructor. Otherwise you're bumping into other
right.
people.
Yeah.
So it shows.
Yeah.
Whereas we're a little more random sometimes on the basketball court, like herding cats we talked about earlier. But the point is, if it's talking about spacing and movement and coordination with other bodies, there's lots of ways of doing that. Other sports, and of course, other activities like dance.
Right. No, I agree. Okay. I'm sorry. I'd never heard of that. So I wanted to dive into that. Okay. So keep going on your journey here with your all right.
So I took a little break there when I had kids to focus on that part of my life. And then my son came up to me, he was around, I think 10 or 11. He said, I want to try basketball. And we went to our first tryouts, and I loved it. I missed it so much. It was something I hadn't been doing for a while because of, young father. I really wanted him to do well, and he went in there, and I was one of those little bit overbearing parents on the sidelines. I was the guy who talked too much. I was the guy who defense and call out things, and I was that guy. I was a big loudmouth on the side, and I suddenly realized I'm not helping. It took me a while. I was like, if you're going to be that active in that means there's something else in you that you need to do. So I volunteered to be assistant coach, team manager first of all. Manager because it got me to shut up because I was doing the score sheet.
Yeah, I did that. Trust me, I did that too. I always kept the scoreboard of the score sheet because it made me be quiet. Like,
exactly.
No, it's the best thing. If you're a vocal parent, that's the best way. Help out. Yes, that's.
It's made me very sympathetic to parents who are vocal. Like, I kind of know what they're like because I was you, and I know how to talk to them a little bit better and say, get them to focus their energies. Hey, it looks like you want to do this. If you want to be more involved, here's how you can do it. An assistant coach where I got to be a lot more vocal, and depending on the coach I work with, I try to not take lead, but certainly compliment them, learn how to do that, and also kind of learn the system. It was very useful to do those things because as a manager, you learn all the little interactions that how to what kids' names are, the rosters, filling out the score sheets, the scoring methods, how many timeouts you get, all that junk, how to work with refs a little bit. Then as assistant coach, you take another step. And then when I decided to go to head coach, that was 3 years later. What happened was I coached for community groups, and they had so many girls, which is unusual at U13, the 12-year-olds. They had so many, they had 3 teams this season in our county that season. And they had so many, they ran out of coaches. They just didn't have anybody that wanted to step up. Right. So I said, I'll step up because I was planning on doing it anyways. So my very first season was like the third group of kids that were kind of the other 2 got recruited. The other 2 teams got to kind of pick their players, and I got the third.
I refer to him as a team of misfit toys.
God!
Watch the
yeah.
Seen that. I don't know what Christmas
special.
Yes.
Every Island of Misfit Toys. Yeah, it's exactly that. And I had a lot of ambitions and thoughts, and I was, very excited, and I got very humble. We had both really, really good highs and success, because I had a great bunch of kids. Their attitudes were perfect. And then really big lows where, in one sense, I think one time we were trying to place, like we had moved up a division, we had moved up within the season. And in our league, you actually get reshuffled a couple times. So if you're overperforming in your little grouping, they'll move you up a grouping in the community or move you down.
It's like soccer.
Exactly. And it's great because you have little micro goals within every round. But we were at the main round and we had to beat this team to kind of finish and have a good, strong setting. And I prioritized it a little too much, and I didn't play some kids as much, and it caused some drama. And it was, it was almost like the perfect first season until that point. And I brought it on myself a little bit. I didn't handle it well. And it was a big down. It was one of the, I had this big high and this big low.
Right.
But I made it
welcome
through.
to coaching, Coach.
Yeah. Well, the league was so good to me. Like the president of the league and everybody that, talked about it. We worked it out and said, it was more along the lines of just kind of setting your expectations and kind of realizing just what you're doing, especially in community league where it's one practice a week, one game a week, and that's all you got.
Right.
And you have to really understand it's not just about what's happening on it's not about so much about scoring. It's not so much about playing time. It's more about are you kind of involving the kids in a way that they're going to grow from season to season? So I had to change my focus from that game and even that season to multiple seasons. Like I had to, once I started looking, okay, I want this kid to be a really good player in 3 or 4 seasons or 2 or 3 seasons. Once I changed my goals, it changed what I needed to do on the court, both in practice and at games.
More like being a parent. It's more like being a parent.
It's a great example. Yeah, that's a great example.
It really is because it's like you want to make sure when they leave that they're good when they leave. It's development. Let's go back to, so you went from that team and then what happened?
Well, I started to that particular year. I also started coaching a second team. So we had our junior high school, my son's team. They needed a coach, so I volunteered to do that. So I was doing community and junior high, grade 8s, 9s, and that one was a little different because I got to do 3 practices a week, 2 to 3 practices a week, and then 2 or 3 games a week. So I got to really kind of explore you have a lot more time. I got to try that on. It was a different league, a metro league. So it was, but I discovered I like coaching 2 teams. I like the differences of having 2 levels. So since that day, every season, every fall, winter season, I've been coaching at least 2 teams. Different age divisions, sometimes boys, sometimes girls, sometimes both, sometimes, just depending on what I'm doing. And it's really, I found out that, it's a way of really getting a lot of experience in a very short period of time. There's a little logistical issues, but typically the league, they know me, they know that I'm doing this, and they've been good at scheduling games. So it's I can make it one to the other. But it forces me to have spend some time with my assistant coaches to make sure they're ready. And it's in case I can't make the game, right? Because I have another game. Yeah, that's happened a couple times. But generally speaking, it's that's been the only conflict. Other than that, I love being in the gym coaching the kids. So if I can do it twice a week, I can't think of a better way to spend my time than helping raise the kids of my community. So right.
No, it is. What's the hardest part about having one practice and having one practice and then maybe one game a week? What's the hardest conceptual as a coach? What's the hardest thing with that, you think?
Well, if I'm like all the other coaches out there, I watch a ton of videos, college level, pro level, boys, girls, whatever. I watch a ton. There's a lot of great ideas I'd love to try and do and explore. I just simply don't. You simply don't have that. You can't recruit the same kids. You're not going to hit that level. You have to. The hardest thing is sort of getting really good at what you want to do at that level and kind of that level of expectation. So, like I mentioned, I coached the little 7-8-year-olds. What were my goals for that? Well, my goals were I want them feeling like they played basketball by the end of the season, by the end of that year.
Tell Me What Happened is a podcast that asks, what would you do if you saw someone needing help?
This tree comes crashing through the roof of my vehicle, and I said, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Listen to the true stories of people who choose to save a stranger on Tell Me What Happened.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
That felt and looked like a game by the end of it, and we managed to do that. So, but that had nothing to do with 3-point shots or post pivot moves. We did some stuff just to show them, kind of have a fun with it and introduce it to them. But I did run any plays. I had a very simple split play. 2 kids stack and stack. Just 2 kids. That's it. The rest of the kids could do what you want. You had to scale it down compared to running like a horn set or a chin series. As I get older, even with the older kids, I still have beginners who are 13, 14-year-olds who are first time playing, and they're on my team.
Right.
And we got to give them playing time. So, I have to really simplify my offense to be something that is that everyone in the court kind of knows what where they're supposed to be, kind of. And if somebody can't make it because they're sick or injured and rolled an ankle, I can substitute. We still have a team that kind of knows what they're doing, that doesn't look lost. So I get good compliments where I get referees that play community balls, and they say your team's well coached, and that is like a really big compliment for me.
Yes, that feels great. So explain how your community program works. Like, is there a leader of it? Do kids come? Does everybody get to play? Like, explain how because I think it's different. I think people are intrigued by how that works sometimes.
Well, it's fairly in Canada, which is where I'm based out of. They're trying to standardize it now. There's regional variations, of course, but mine in the Edmonton area, which is where I'm based out of, there's an Edmonton Youth Basketball Association, and they're the parent league, and all the other leagues, the towns and communities have their own clubs, basically.
So all of Edmonton has a lead thing.
Has a big parent league, yes. So
you're in the category of that.
Yes. So we're a member of that parent league. So the Leduc Lightning, which is the Leduc County Association that I coach for directly, we're part of the Edmonton League.
And someone runs that, though. Someone runs
that. So the Edmonton League is run by Edmonton volunteers, usually other association members, just like me.
Right.
Somebody that steps up to be president, somebody steps up. So it's a volunteer-run organization. I think they might have some staff.
Okay.
They actually have Edmonton recently over COVID. They actually built their own facility, so they were renting local gymnasiums and from schools and from colleges, universities. They've been renting them, so they actually got their own. They built 3 gymnasiums, 3 courts inside a large warehouse facility, basically. And they've been using that, and it's been wonderful. So, this is it's volunteer run. These guys they love the sport, and they spend a lot of time. It's a really well run league.
Right.
So there are some rules. So there are age divisions. There's boys and girls, and then there's age divisions every 2 years. So there's U9, U11, U13, U15, U18, and then you're done.
Okay.
And then there's a bit of a split at high school. So we run only in the fall program. And then come high school, some of the kids that don't make high school teams can still play community. The ones that do make high school teams cannot play community.
Right, that's the way it is.
It's one or the other. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And are there those all over Canada then?
Yes. Yeah.
So like Quebec.
Edmonton has one. There's a Calgary Association. There's a Red Deer, which is a small city between the two of us. That kind of stuff. So,
but what about the small little towns? Again, I know that 75% of all Canadians live within 50 miles of the U.S. border. But what about the little towns that aren't by a big town?
So, for the most part, those towns, if they have enough kids to form their own league, they will, or they'll join a slightly bigger league. So, my league is Leduc County, so we're geographically really large. So somebody from a nearby town can come and join our league. They're within our zone, so we're kind of zoned off.
Okay.
And if you get big enough to form your own association, your own zone, then you get split off, basically.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Because I was just wondering how, because there's little towns maybe they didn't have enough to maybe make a team, but they don't have anybody to play. So then what do? We get calls. We get calls from the small, coaches from high school coaches. Hey, I have a couple kids here that really want to play, and we either invite them to come play with us, and that happens too. Sometimes what happens even between leagues, we have different zones. If you don't have enough kids in one area, the neighboring guys might, or just they don't have enough, we don't have enough, and we'll say, okay, well, you guys take all the kids, or we take all the kids, and we'll make a team out of that. So we've had that a few times where there was just not enough
U13 girls. Okay,
Right.
well, you can the next community over, you guys have it. So.
Do you go co-ed at the younger ages?
We split up at U9, so 7-8-year-olds. That's where we start splitting if we can.
Okay.
And there's a bit of a gap. I've noticed we don't get a lot of girls until U13, and then all of a sudden we get a ton of them.
Yeah.
But U7, 8, and 9, it tends to be 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio boys to girls teams.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so how do you one of the topics you want to talk about, how do you start on the right foot for community teams? So that was something like, because I know like there's high school coaches and college coaches, like how do you start down that right path? Because I know when we started our youth program, we had to pivot and then we had to redo something, then we had to get a board, and then we had to become a nonprofit. It's like, it's a whole, could write a book on it. But what do you think is the things you need to prioritize with that?
Well, kind of as an association or as a coach?
They're either or, you pick.
Yeah, well, because I got I'm a director in our association, so I've done the whole help the recruiting stuff. I've done the whole evaluations and tiering and placements. It is, and you're trying to do. Our ultimate goal is to get as many kids playing as we can. Like that's our, and have them have a good time with basketball. Like we're not a feeder program necessarily for older ages, although we kind of do develop later on. Right. It's a good fit, right? We've had a lot of high school coaches teach in our community because it is a natural fit, right? They can take these kids, bring them in, and they know the kids know at least the basics, right? So from an association point of view, it's really just embracing the idea that if you have more kids, odds are you have a bigger pool of parents to make volunteers. It's
the law of large numbers.
You got it.
The stats teacher. The more you have, the better chances. Yes. It's
provided you have enough gyms. If you have enough gym facilities and
that is one of the biggest issues I've heard from like coaches in New Zealand and Australia and Europe and stuff. It's gym space. Even the US, it's like it's gym space. You can't find gym space.
Well, that and times like you're especially community. You're really just working on evenings, right? You have
right. Well, so
Friday,
so again, it's the financial part I think about. So let's say I build this big facility that has 4 basketball courts. It sits there empty half the year, more than half the year, because the kids are in school and they're not coming at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday in September because they're in school. So this facility you built sits, you don't want that. Like from a financial, like that's the problem with the facilities. You got to make.
So what they've been doing is renting it out to like adult groups. So
right, you try,
groups
it needs to be multi-purpose. It does need to be multi-purpose for sure.
Yeah, so you'll have 2 sets of lines on the ground. Maybe tennis, tennis and badminton and basketball. Yeah, so that's what the association but for asking from like a coaching a new thing. So I like I said, I coach 2 teams a year. So and usually they're brand new kids. I sometimes get repeat kids that I've coached before or from previous divisions, but generally it's kind of really a new mix every time. So it's really you're really working on spacing and movement, and you got to kind of break it down to where you have to do kind of your drills, your sets. What you're teaching them has to include some level of defense, because you don't have time to run against chairs a lot, because as soon as they go to a game, it feels different. You don't have
different.
that time. Yeah. You don't have the time to set up that, okay, well, let's run it completely wide open. And then you go to a game and everything gets stolen. Every pass gets stolen.
Right.
It's just too easy. So you got to start with like this basic fundamentals. Okay. How do you get open and, on a pass, like just getting open on passes, because you can't do anything unless you can get open on a pass. And that leads to inbound plays, so that kind of I have a team. I got 2 practices and then we're playing games. Right. Then we're starting to play games. So 1 week game, 1 week practice, 1 week game. So basically passing drills in the sense of, okay, passing, this is how we kind of move passes when the defender's here, when the defender's here, when the defender's here. So we're trying to show them different ways of moving the ball. Things like dribble at someone, when you dribble at someone, that kind of thing. Other things that we really focus on early is defense recovery habits. So we don't have time to really show them the real switching defense type of what do you do on the screen, that kind of thing. You usually
Right.
run into that a lot, but it's more like recovery. You just turned over the ball. What you gonna do?
Right.
Because it's gonna happen a lot.
It's like a song. Yes. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Yes.
Or transitional type defense. Like what do I want? Do I want you up on the guy, or do I want you running back right to our key, turning around? Like when do you turn around? I basically try to set what I want them to do, so that way in practice, so that way when they do in the game or don't do in the game, I can say, okay, this is what we're asking you to do. This is what you're not doing. Let's just work on that and see if we can make this work. Right.
Right.
So I never get mad at kids that for doing things I didn't like. If I didn't teach them how to do a press break and they don't know how to break a press, I'm not mad at them.
Right. And the thing is, you have to, like, if you only have one practice a week, you have to prioritize. Like you'd love to work on skill sets. You'd love to work on this, but you have to break it up into chunks. Like, okay, we're going to spend 20, 30 minutes on so-and-so. And then we're going to work on, like, you need a basic out of bounds play. And you do. Yeah, I agree. It's like, that's what I found hard, even as someone that's coached a long time. When I was coaching my kids' teams, it's like, all right, I got them once or twice a week.
Yeah.
What's my priority? All right, coaches, sorry to interrupt, but remember, prices are going up next week. We haven't said what they are. They're going from $59 to $99. If you're thinking of joining Coach Youth Hoops, do not wait. Prices are going up next week. And what else, Coach? I hope you've signed up for
the Coaching Youth Hoops Masterclass. If you haven't done that, head over, pause it, go to coachingyouthhoopsmasterclass.com right now. Sign up by September 13th. The first class launches on September 13th. Steve and I have been busy recording a ton of videos, walking you through step by step on launching with your this season with confidence. Everything you need, soup to nuts, practice planning, how to create how to implement an offense and defense in 5 practices, and so much more. Again, Coaching Youth Hoops, masterclass.com. Sign up today.
It's sort of like, what do you need to make an engine work? You need spark plug, you need fuel, you need gas. To make sure the fuel gets to the gas line. Like you need compression and boom, right? So with basketball, there's passing is A, otherwise it's not really. You can give one guy the ball and they can do something, but that's not really a team sport. You're not really building to the next season, right?
Right.
And you do want to eventually, we do have enough practices. Like I like 20 practices in a season, 25 practices in a season, 30 practices in a season. It just takes a long time.
Right.
So you do want to progress. So when you're
the problem is you're practicing playing. So it's like I'm assuming you're not going for 8 weeks or 10 weeks before a game. Maybe you are.
No, one practice, one game, one practice, one game, one practice, one game. Typically.
Right.
Yeah.
So
then you're So you don't have like 3 practices in a game.
Right. So what do? You gotta be competent as you move along.
So that's exactly. So the other thing that so recovery habits is like what I do is I find most games when you're at this level, it kind of boils down to who rebounds the best and who recovers the best. That for both defense and offense, right?
Right.
If you don't rebound at all, and the other team rebounds, you're done because they're going to miss. You're going to miss all your shots, and they're going to miss all their shots, but they're going to get enough of them because they got enough second shots and third shots.
Right.
And if you stop enough of them and you get enough of them of your own, rebounding is so prioritized on my teams because if they don't get that habit, it's something that's a real bad habit not to have when you get older. Coaches hate it.
Right.
Your high school coaches hate it. Why am I teaching this again? And you guys should know this. So that kind of stuff. So and everything else is miss shot, fix it basically.
Right.
And then the other one, like I said, is turnover habits. And what do you do? Like, do you stand there and watch the guy who you just stole the pass from you, or what do you do physically? Like, how do you react? So we try to train the habit of, okay, you got turned over. Your job is to hightail it to a certain spot, right? Your job's to recover. And you don't have to do much else once you get there, except rebound.
Yes.
And if you do that,
at the younger ages, that's even harder, I'm guessing.
It's really, we're encouraged to teach man to man, like everybody else, that big conversation. We're encouraged to teach man to man, and I agree with it. You should know those fundamentals. But at ages 7 and 8, it's the concept is lost on them. They always glom towards the ball, right?
It's like a pack of bees kind of thing. You just like whenever you play, same with soccer and things like that, they just clump around the ball. Yeah.
So those little kids, the very first drill I teach them, quote unquote, is I put dots on the floor, is on both sides, zigzagging across all the way, both sides of full size court. So I put these dots about passing distance for them. So they're about 8 feet apart. Okay. Right. So there's a big vinyl dot in the ground, 8 feet. Go stand on that one. You go stand on that one. You go stand on that one. And then the very last dot is close to the basket. So then what I'll do is the very first practice, I'll get one ball on each side of the lane, on each side. And I'll say, okay, you pass and then you follow to the next spot. Okay, you catch, turn around, pass, catch, turn around. So it's nothing but relay passing and standing at around 8 feet apart, not close together. So I do this for a couple of reasons. Is I want them to understand you don't stand side by side.
Right.
And when you turn, when you catch, you turn to look to pass it to someone. And when you pass it, you look to do something else. You don't stand still anymore. Right.
Right.
So just that basic motion of the ball, and that's where we did that team in particular that I coached last year did so well. It wasn't because they were great shooters or great ball handlers or none of that stuff. They just the old slow. Everybody hates lobby passes. Or it's great when the other team is standing still.
Right.
you know, and when the other team is kind of glob to their ball, you just have to lob it over. You know, the 2 or 3 defenders standing around you, and the guy behind you is completely wide open.
Right.
So and it taught the habit of looking. Like I want them to associate basketball with ball movement, like that.
I know spacing and ball movement at any level is so important. I know it really is. It's like you can't do anything if you don't have ball movement. You don't have spacing. I know.
Yeah. I mean, I understand the focus on dribbling because eventually the great players become great dribblers. But I'm the passer guy.
Right. Well, it's the first thing they learn to do. They learn to dribble and they learn to shoot. Dribble, shoot. Yeah, I know. So how does it work with like playing time and expectations from parents and all that kind of stuff? How does that work in your specific league?
Well, I think similar to others, like in our league, we're not trying to get you a highlight video on YouTube, you know, with the kids, right? And we're not trying to do career building here. So it is equal playing time. It's kind of first on registration, it's first come, first serve. So the first kid to register gets, you know, within the spots we have available, gets a spot on the team, period. Whether it's A team or B team, they get a spot. And we kind of segregate them based on their skill level. So they a little bit more challenged and they're playing in a grouping that makes sense. So yes, we expect all the kids to get time. Now you're never going to get equal playing time because I get 1 timeout in the first half and 2 timeouts in the second half. That's it.
And how long is the first half and how long is the second half?
So they're actually broken into quarters. So they're
quarters. Okay.
Yeah. 8 or 9 minutes, depending on the age group. So typically 9 minutes until you're, junior high school level.
Okay.
So you're dealing with quarters for us. So I get, again, per half, I still get one timeout. So I don't get a lot of, the games they're designed to kind of run on time, not so much, be a coaching experience, which kind of sucks because I rather have more timeouts, but I get it. They're running a lot of kids through the association. There's a lot of teams.
Right.
So, you'll learn over time. So it when it comes to timeouts, breaks or dead ball whistles, that's when I can sub out. So you do try to do equal rotations. You try to balance your lines. Like the real challenge is trying to find 5 kids, and if you have 12 kids on your roster or 13 kids on your roster, which is very typical, how do you mix that, right? How do you rotate in and who? And it's a lot of conversations with parents and kids. I have those via email, team meetings. When after the games, I'll talk with parents about how I try to strategize for timing. And I say, at the beginning of the season, it's very egalitarian. Everybody gets time, but by the end, the kids that are earning it get a little more time. The kids that are giving me more attitude get a little less. But we're talking like a minute of game time.
I hear you. Do you ever use the numbering system where you number them and then 1 through 5 go, then 6 through 10 go? Then have you done that?
Yes. Yeah. So I've done lines, I've done lines where I've had, one of the other, an alternate for every line. So line 1 will have 2 subs basically, and they'll just kind of sub through in line 2, but you don't always get full rotation. So I get per quarter, I do basically 3-minute shifts. So I'll do 1, 2, 3.
Like hockey. Yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah. Exactly 3-minute shifts. But again, depends on when the ref blows a whistle or not. Right. So it's not perfect, but the parents kind of realize that. How do you structure practice? How does practice look for you? Well, I learned from the coaches ahead of me. So because I was assistant coach, and he was a high school coach that did community league. All his kids grew up in the community league. A very good coach, Coach Vince May. I watched him, so I watched what he did in every practice. He touched on something every practice. So usually he talked about the previous game right off the bat. If we had a previous game, that's when we talk about it. So we didn't have after game meetings. We evaluated the next practice. So we talked about
because they don't hear you, especially as they get older. That's like it's right after the heat of the battle. Like they're not going to hear you. Yeah.
Even as a coach, I want to look at the game sheet and see what kind of, as what I remember and there's what happened.
Right.
So we don't typically have a lot of videos to view. When we do, I do, but when we don't, I don't. So what he did and what I emulated is basically, okay, a little bit of talk about what happened and what we need to work on. What's good, where we're advancing, where we need to work on. Then I do habit drills. So, habits. So anything I need to work on, my rebounding, my boxing, tagging out, my dribble. I really want people who, when we dribble at one of our actions, if somebody dribbles at you, you don't stand still, right? It's either a handoff or a back cut. It's one of the two. You're not pylons there. So we try to get that habit. So that way in the game, when I see something and I can tell, hey, Petey, he's dribbling at you, what you're supposed to do, right? I can yell that. He can remember right on the court. So, it's amazing what happens when you do a back cut at this age level. It's insane.
It's like you look like LeBron or Kobe. I know. It's like Giannis. I know.
It gets a lot oohs and ahs.
Yes.
But other things like anything that I think need to be habits to kind of form, both for that season and future seasons, I'm trying to build those habits. Then I move into defense and I spend a little bit of time talking about, okay, what do you need to do position wise and kind of trimming things up, outside of that. So because that's coordination, that's team coordination, right?
Right.
Talking, communication, spending time, just encouraging them to develop that. Offense, and it's mostly simple stuff like, okay, I want to run a 0 offense or 1 offense or 2 offense. And 0 is how many kids are inside the 3-point line. 0 is like a 5 out.
Right.
1 is 4-1. 2 is horns. And it just depends on my personnel and if they're good at spacing.
I think it depends on personnel and age, especially offensively. It's just the developmental. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And as I get older, I give them more spots to try. Especially as we develop further in the series, the systems, further in the season, I will add more spots and more actions. So I start with something simple.
One of the big things for me for youth too is don't make the tall kid necessarily the big, you don't know when they're 9 who's gonna, like, you can look at their parents, but you really don't know. Like,
nope.
Everybody should be, don't pigeonhole them is basically what I'm saying at that point.
My bigs are my best passers typically, just because they have more real estate.
Right. Yes.
So I don't necessarily want them on the inside every bloody time.
No, and it's like you don't know that kid. Like I grew up. The center of my 5th grade team didn't grow after 5th grade. Like, swear to God. Like, it's like, it's just,
I was the opposite. I've been 5'11" all my life, pretty much. Like, since I was 13, I turned 5'11" and I stopped.
You stopped.
And I was the tallest kid in school for the longest time, and then everybody caught up.
Right. So that's why then you're not allowing them to complete their career. I know.
No. And the last 2 things are situational. So things like press breaks, because we as kids, especially the older teams, we can't press, and we've got to work on pressing. So we learn how breaking. You have to. If you don't know how to press, you can't run a break because you don't have if you don't have a good press, you're not getting your breaks aren't going to be very good either. So situational, like inbounds plays under the bucket. Like I've been trying to follow some advice for the teach hoops. It's like a lot more situational end of game situations. I try to emulate what happened in the last game, how we might want to run it this time.
Yes,
if it's a close game. How even situations like, okay, I want to run out the clock. What does that look like? Like, the kids don't know that. You can't say, hey, slow things down. That doesn't mean a thing to them.
They have no idea, and they don't like and a minute is like, they'll think that's like 17 years. It's crazy. Like, we'll do that on the clock. We'll do that. Obviously a high school coach, so I can do it on the clock and do it. When I was youth coach, I just counted down. All right, 30, 29, 28, just so they would get the feeling of that. And it is crazy how they don't know. Yeah, they don't know that they shouldn't be dribbling all the time. They shouldn't be doing some of those things. I think it's an underutilized skill set, I think.
Yeah. And then I usually try to wrap it up with some game time because, again, they don't get a ton of it. So scrimmaging, but I try to go as fast as we can at the time using everything we learned that day. and I try to track rebounds and tips. So I'm not actually caring really what they're doing in that. I'm saying, okay, are you guys rebounding, boxing out, and deflecting the steals and tips? Like, are you being aggressive on defense? Because I found early on, whenever I ran scrimmage, they were playing rec ball scrimmage, if you know what I mean, right? Pickup scrimmage. So they really didn't want to play defense because they didn't want to frustrate the other, their friends, and they didn't want to make them look bad. So I was like, no. We, loose balls, chases, rebound, and the contact stuff. That is what our scrimmage is about. It's just so you get comfortable with it. Like double teaming our guys, inside double team. Like I want that guy to learn what it's like to have two guys clamp on top of him. Right. And have a feeling, but I can't get that in sort of.
You're trying to stimulate. You're trying to basically make game like situations, and that's what you want them to feel that. In a safe environment. So if they turn it over, it's like, well, why did we do that? So it's that learning curve through failure, but you want the failure to be not in a game necessarily. It's hopefully the failure can happen in practice.
Exactly.
Where do you practice? You practice at like elementaries? Where are most of your practices?
Well, so I have elementary schools typically for my young kids, the very young ones, but usually high school or junior high school. We're there's some fairly good schools here in our area, so we're kind of lucky. Yeah,
and is it not space? Do you ever have to share? You never have to share. You have the court to yourself.
Not since the end of the pandemic. We've been able to get enough facilities, so that's been good. So yeah, we the gym coordinator for our association matches the teams to adjustable rims for places that need it, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna go through and ask you some quick questions here. I'm sure some of these we'll dive into. What's your favorite brand of basketball? Your actual ball that you use?
FIBA Molten. Okay. Believe it or not, yeah, the Molten balls. They're I probably because nothing makes the other coaches bark a little bit than having to bring in your game balls. One of those, because they're like, it's different. Like, but we practice with it.
Yeah, every practice is. One word to describe your ideal player.
You need a vacation, so why not come play in LA? Fill your days with fun and let Los Angeles dazzle you with iconic landmarks, epic scenery, and stunning coastlines. And when the sun goes down, it's the perfect place to enjoy world-class dining and nightlife. Let play lead the way and soak up all this city has to offer. Start planning your LA getaway now at visitcalifornia.com.
This episode is brought to you by Enterprise Mobility. From fleet management to flexible truck rentals to technology solutions, Enterprise Mobility helps businesses find the right mobility solutions so they can find new opportunities. Because if your business is on the road, they want to make sure it's on the road to success. Enterprise Mobility, moving you moves the world. Find your road at enterprisemobility.com.
Gritty.
If you go to one sporting event in the world for free, what would you go to?
Oh, this is pretty easy. NCAA finals. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I've been to a couple. It's unbelievable.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, definitely would like to be there.
Yeah, unbelievable. Everyone should go. It's better to watch it at home, but the whole league, it's pretty cool. Favorite pregame or postgame meal?
Pregame or postgame meal? Pregame, usually it's breakfast, like a breakfast burrito or something like that.
Okay.
Breakfast and coffee, then I'm ready to go.
Okay. One thing you do to relax.
Fish. I fish. I boat and I fish. Yeah.
What do you fish?
We fish both walleye, jack, perch. Yeah. I have a boat I built that's at a lake that I just recently got a lake lot property, and I've been able to save up enough over the years to get a property. So I just hop on the boat and go fishing. So that's
awesome. I took my son when he was probably 10 or 11 to Canada fishing. It was awesome. It was like it's like crazy. Yeah.
Well, it's such a short season here. Like you're there's still ice on the lake in the end of May. And it gets bloody cold by September sometimes.
The window is that's why there's so many.
So it's a real treat here.
Why there's so many walleye out there. Do you have any superstitions?
No, none really.
Okay. One coaching technique you consider important?
Talking with parents very early about expectations.
Often.
Often and early, but I write a mail, and then I'll do updates, and I talk with the parents because it's a partnership, right? The kids will just agree with everything you say. The parents will not, and if you don't you don't explain it, you're going to breed something you're not like.
Parents aren't rational people. Let me just tell you, they're not rational because they love their kids.
Very emotional.
Very emotional. Describe your perfect player in 5 words.
Gritty, leader, focused, reliable.
Okay. Best basketball player of all time.
Of all time. Oh, wow. Joker.
Who?
Jokic.
Oh, yeah. I didn't hear you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. He hasn't got many votes, a couple votes. MJ gets a lot of votes, let me tell you. If you could only teach one skill at practice, what would you teach?
Rebounding.
Shot clock, yes or no?
Yes.
Do you have the shot clock in Canada?
Yeah, it's just nobody's operating it, so the refs just kind of gauge it, and then they'll give you a 10-second countdown. I think it's getting along.
Okay. So like the high school, they have it, but
the high school they have it.
When you're 13, you tend to use it. Okay.
No.
If you could change one thing about the game of basketball, what would you change?
No, I don't have a strong opinion about changing it.
I do.
Here's
we'll get rid of the jump ball.
Really?
Yep. It's stupid. There's one jump ball, unless there's overtime. One jump ball, and the officials are horrible at tossing.
Because we don't have the whole ball in this situation anymore.
So what it should be is visiting team gets the ball to start, done.
Oh yeah, I could get behind that. Wouldn't
hurt me because the problem is we don't practice it. It's once a game unless it's an overtime. What's the point? I mean, I understand. Oh, it's like they used to go to. Well, that's where they all. I go. That's not a reason to keep something.
You mean tradition? The tradition of it, yeah.
It's like people used to go to school in horse and buggies too. It's like that. Things change, people. Like,
I don't think anybody would cry too hard if it happened.
I just don't know why it hasn't happened. It should just be uniform in the world. The visiting team gets the ball to start. Period. Right. Jump ball is gone. Now the NBA does all the jump balls. That's the problem.
Yeah. I don't think it's hard to learn the idea of it, right?
No,
it doesn't take a long time to figure out.
Best game you've seen in person.
I don't get to go see pro games. I've seen one pro game in my life, in Miami. So I tend to watch college games, high school games, and a lot of community games.
Yeah, that's okay.
So
maybe you don't have one. You should go. You got to go see Giannis. I took my son in November to see Giannis play, and it's like that. He's not a normal human being. He's abnormal. Like stats teacher.
I can only imagine.
There's I explained this in my stats class. There's one Giannis. There's 7.5 billion people in the world, and there's one of him.
He
is not normal. And they go
the Greek freak.
I go, he's not normal. He runs like a gazelle, and he's 6'11".
Where he picks up the ball on a dunk, like he's past the free throw line.
And it's
1-2, and it's like
wonderful human being, does amazing things for the community.
I loved his post game interview.
He's just a wonderful, but he's not normal. He's abnormal. And when you see him, it's like seeing LeBron or Kobe. It's like, what? How do you
well, the way we do this with our kids, we have our kids and we're trying to show them game speed. So we often get EYBA often gets there's a pro group in Edmonton called the Edmonton Stingers basketball club,
right?
And they give us tickets, so we get to have these tickets. And I take these kids to watch that, and these kids are just like all our kids are just like their jaws are open, like can't believe how fast and how high. Like to them, that's between us and Giannis. That's the same difference between an 8-year-old and a.
It is. It's like Giannis. If you've ever played Nerf basketball, that's what playing basketball is like for him. I swear to God. Put it on the back of your door and you play Nerf basketball with your friends. That's what it must feel like for him. It's crazy.
It's almost alien.
It is. It's just not. Quarters or halves?
Quarters.
Favorite quarter saying?
Favorite quote? which one was it? I have a few that I
think you sent me. What did you send me?
It was Steve Nash's.
Yes, it was.
You're never more alive than when you give something everything you have, which I try to remind kids on the court all the time. Is if you're only going to get this game once. Let's put everything you got into it. See how you feel.
I love that. One word to describe your coaching style.
Stubborn.
Best basketball coach of all time.
Gino Oriana.
That's a loaded question. One book. If you could read one book. I was going to ask the jump ball one. I'm not going to ask that one. So I'm going to skip it. One book you'd recommend.
How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Succeed by Scott Adams. Nothing to do with basketball per se, but it's a lot to do with...
I don't know if I've read that book. Say that again.
How to... he's got a few of it. Sorry, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. That's the proper title.
How to fail. You have to fail. That's a given. Failure is a must in a learning process.
And almost everything. Well, Scott Adams has he's a cartoon for Dilbert. He has a very interesting career.
Okay.
He believes in systems over goals and building skill stacks over like pure mastery. And it talks to me particularly because I'm working with kids that I don't know if they're not going to be college players. A couple of them have been, but not a lot.
Right.
And you got to, what are you trying to give these kids? And I love the idea of systems over goals because what good's a goal for at that age level? They're not going to remember the game.
I love that.
But the system, if you show them systems, that goes year to year, and skill stacks that applies in all levels of life. So.
Okay. My last question for everybody that I interview is what would be the bit of advice you would tell your younger self? What would you tell your younger self?
Don't take so long, realizing that long-term is good.
What do you mean by that?
I wasn't always certain that taking a multi-season, multi-year approach would be satisfying as a coach, right? Because you're giving up some stuff for that. You're giving up some real intensity and that'll work out. But I get to see now that I've coached kids for not a very long time, but a lot of kids, seeing them develop and move and grow. So I had one kid who couldn't score a basket to best kid on the team the next year. Seeing that progression and having a little bit of say in it, having a little bit of influence that they did that with me, not despite me. As a coach, I really worry about that. Are they getting better because of me or despite me?
Right.
And if has my philosophy been good? So if I could tell my younger self, hey, the philosophy you adopted to go longer term with your vision, it's really satisfying. It's really worth it.
I love that. All right. Thank you, Coach. I thank you for taking the time out of your day. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. And now get early access to Memorial Day deals. Save 30% on our most popular smart bed, i8. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.